Hey everyone, I'm Josh Loftus, and this is the Everyday Monday podcast, the podcast where we talk about everyday people doing everyday things in everyday churches. Whether you're a pastor, a plumber, or that person who walks around with an essential oils bag, this podcast is for you. And this is where we find value in the trenches of Christian life. Welcome to Everyday Monday. And in the trenches with me today, I've got a very special guest. He is the associate pastor at Wilson's Mills Baptist Church in Smithfield, North Carolina. He's a Chicago Cubs fan, and if you want to know anything about comics, movies, or general geekdom, he is your man. I have Mr. TJ Tamer in the house today. TJ, how you doing, my friend?
Oh man, I'm doing good. A little hoarse, but we'll make it through.
We will make it through. It'll be good. Well, let's start off with a softball question for you, my friend.
All right.
Why is the DC universe better than Marvel in one or two sentences?
Oh, that's really easy.
Yeah.
They have better heroes and they have better stories, and that's really all you need.
That's exactly true. Couldn't agree more. Yep, for sure. Well, TJ, just give us just a short bio of who you are, man. Married, kids, little known fun fact.
Yeah, sure. So, I live and have lived my whole life in North Carolina.
Mhm.
Grew up on the western part of the state, near the foothills of the mountains. Um, my entire family are Wake Forest fans. As you can
Okay.
see, I don't know if you can see, but as you can
Uh,
see,
I see it. Wake Forest t-shirt. Yeah.
yep. So I am married. My wife and I have been married since 2011. We have two children, Wyatt, who is 6, and Sawyer, who just turned 2 on Wednesday.
Hmm.
And so, two little boys and all the fun that goes with that. We actually live now on the middle eastern part of the state, which is Smithfield, North Carolina. It's southeast of Raleigh, the capital. And been living here since I took a church in 2010. I'm serving at Wilson's Mills Baptist. Have been there for came in April of 14, so 5 years now, working on
Right on.
6. I'm the associate pastor, which pretty much means that I do everything that the pastor doesn't want to do.
That's right. That's how it's that little clause at the end of the job description and other duties as requested,
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. But my main duties are worship and youth discipleship,
Yeah.
discipleship and youth. So those three separate things.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I love baseball. As you said, I'm a Cubs fan. Was a Braves fan for most of my life growing up, until the Braves traded away everybody, and that made me angry.
Oh
Um,
boy. Okay, you jumped ship after that, huh?
Yeah, I did about 5. I came, the year that, Madden came, so, I think it was 2014.
Okay.
And so yeah, the Chipper Jones, is my was my favorite Braves and one of my favorite players, probably my favorite player. He retired, they started trading people away. I said, "I need a new baseball team, but I don't want people to think I jumped on a bandwagon, so let's go with the Cubs because they suck." And
Yeah.
so
Well, see
it
here, nobody ever thinks us in Seattle are on some bandwagon because we got the Mariners and they ain't doing jack squat.
Well, that's true, but 2 weeks ago, one of y'all's guys, uh, man, I forgot his name. Anyways, he stole 2nd, 3rd, and home in the same inning. So,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, that was
we
pretty
have
cool.
we have glimpses,
Yeah,
glimpses. Yeah.
yep. So I jumped ship to the worst team, who then 2
Mhm.
years later became the world champion, and,
Yeah. Good
I've been
timing.
there ever since. Yeah, so,
Yeah. Right
yeah,
on.
love baseball, played baseball. I'm a weird, amalgamation of a person. Um, my music styles are very eclectic. I like
Mhm.
everything from, uh, hip hop to some classical to Southern gospel to
Mm.
just a country to a ton of different stuff.
Yeah.
Um, deeply care about theology, but I also love sports, especially baseball, but watch, most everything. And
Mhm.
like you said, all things geek,
That's
being on
right.
another podcast, a geek podcast. And so,
Yep.
yeah, man, I'm just a weird person.
Yeah, those make the best podcast hosts and co-hosts. So, TJ, being a pastor there, North Carolina, give us just kind of on both ends of the spectrum. What is for you both the best part of that job, the job that just keeps you coming through the front doors, right? And then on the other side, what do you find to be the hardest and most difficult aspect of being a pastor there?
Um, yeah, most people you would think say would be dealing with people in the middle of their worst case scenario
Sure.
of life.
Yeah.
Most people would say that, but I don't say that because I truly believe that right theology will lead to right practice.
Amen.
That
Yeah.
orthodoxy will lead to orthopraxy, and
Hmm.
um, and so, that's not what it is because I can just point people to Christ. My favorite part of my job is that I get paid to, in different ways, in different avenues, through music, through preaching, through counseling, through Bible study, I get
Mm,
to swim in the deep waters of theology with people.
mm,
So I love hanging out in the deep end of the pool,
mm.
and I don't I'll start at the surface if that's where you are, but my goal is to bring you into the deep waters,
Right.
because it is
Right.
in the deep waters where we find the full expression of faith. So that's probably the best part of my job. The hardest part of my job is actually pastoring in the South, in North Carolina. There's a whole lot of residual Bible Belt Christianity. There's a
Mm,
whole lot
sure.
of people who have been in church their whole life who think that they're saved when
Right.
their lives actually show no indication
Hmm.
that they are followers of Christ. And so, just the residual effects of Americanized Christianity, the religion of Christianity,
Hmm.
um, makes that's the hardest part of my job because it is the antithesis to the gospel.
Right.
Religion is the antithesis to the gospel, and we are steeped in it in the
Right.
South.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of an offshoot question, because that is not a problem we have here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in the Seattle area. And if anything, there is a famine of anything resembling Christianity, right? So the
Yeah.
fight is completely different. And I actually, how do you, as someone who's right in the Bible Belt, like you said, how do you go about combating that? Like out here, you share the gospel with somebody and it's the first time they've ever heard it. It's completely brand new. Out where you're at, you got people like you just said who've been going to church their entire lives, think they're Christians, can talk all the right stuff, but they're not. So
Mm.
how do you fight that battle, man, with people who, yeah, are just who've been saturated in it, but it just the gospel hasn't changed the heart.
Yeah, it's tricky because, like you said, they're saturated in the right answers, in the
Mhm.
religious answers, but there has been no heart change.
Right.
And so, um, actually, what I do is on a very small scale. Um, it has to be tailored to the individual. So, a
Mhm.
couple of quick examples. As you can see, and as, if other people look me up online or whatever, they're going to see that I have tattoos, that I have a beard, that I do not look like the conventional pastor,
Sure.
especially not a Southern Baptist pastor.
Yeah.
That when we go anywhere, um, people are often shocked that I am a pastor, not because of things I've said or things I've done, but just because of what I look like.
Sure.
And that I have to meet people where they are.
Mhm.
But then when they have a problem, what I've had to do is get them to show me in the Bible
Sure.
where these things are wrong. Not just because you heard somebody tell you they were wrong as you
Yeah.
grew up,
Right.
but just how are these things wrong? And then when they bring it up, not so much a defense mechanism, but just to try to help them to see that these are non issues and should be non issues
Sure.
in the life of the church.
Yeah.
And once you start breaking down those religious barriers that have been erected by the community or their parents or former
Mhm.
pastors or
Yeah.
religion as a whole, Once you
Right.
remove those things, then we are open to have a conversation. And they may still not be okay with it, and that's fine. I would never ask anybody to go against their conscience. But let's not call things sin that Christ hasn't called sin.
Well, exactly. And that's part of living sola scriptura, right? Like if we're going to believe in the Bible as our sole authority and but then turn around and make secondary issues primary issues, and are willing to break fellowship and call something sin, because once you call something sin, it automatically puts it into the categories. You need a chapter and verse for that. Like sin is black and white, right? You're either in sin or you're not. And yes, there's conscience in there for sure, but we need scriptural evidence and scriptural proof for something that we're going to label as sin. And if we
Yeah.
can't find it, then it then puts it into the realm of a conscience issue, which is a completely different area,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be one of the main fronts of the battle for you down there in the Bible Belt, is that you have so many people who, like you said, it's this Americanized Christianity where it's more just about just kind of how the culture views things and rules and regulations. And I mean, we obviously have things that we do and don't do as Christians, but it becomes about that and not about the gospel and not about scripture being our authority. And you're having to take that and basically reshape how people are viewing just just Christianity as a whole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, for sure. So, TJ, give us just a little, just a quick synopsis, real quick, of how Christ found you. Just how you came to Christ and what that process looked like in your life.
Yeah. So I'm typical of most Southern Baptists in that
Okay.
I grew up in the church.
Right.
Obviously typical of Southern Baptist 30 years ago.
Sure.
Now that may not be, it may be atypical, but I grew up in the church. My parents were believers and faithfully took us to church.
Hmm.
We actually went to an independent Baptist church on the other side of the state, excuse me, where my grandmother was the preacher. I have thoughts about that now,
Ooh,
but back then I didn't know any better. And
sure.
so my mom and I still disagree on it, so we don't bring it up. And
Yeah.
so both love the Lord. It's just one of those things where that's a tough thing. My grandmother got Alzheimer's, and so she had to step down from her position. And it was 30 minutes away. We weren't going to continue. Plus, the way they handled it kind of put a bad taste in our family's mouth
Hmm.
for that. And so we wanted to go to a church closer to our house, but not the first church we came to. So we went a couple churches and actually landed on uh, a church in Winston Salem called Old Town, and it's there. When I was 13, was at a youth camp, heard Hellfire and Brimstone message.
Hmm.
Didn't want anything to do with that, and so it's hard to say because I had that experience. Talked to my family deacon, he shared the gospel with me, accepted Christ, was baptized at that church. So, as a church kid who grew up in the church, I knew all the right answers. I was at church
Sure.
every time the doors were open, and then when I got to college in 2006, went to the Passion Conference, heard John Piper speak for the first time, and he wrecked my whole world on the
Yeah.
Bible.
He's done
And
that to a few of us. Yeah.
yeah, just wrecked my whole world on my view of scripture. And so these moments throughout, so at some point from 8 to 22, somewhere in
Hmm.
there, the gospel actually got a hold of me.
Yeah.
And what I knew and had learned at church connected with the Spirit or by the Spirit to my heart.
Hmm.
And so, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it kinda happened through the faithful ministering of the word through multiple people over many years, and at some point in there, it clicked from being just head knowledge
Hmm.
to being in my heart as well.
Yeah. Very cool. So being one of the pastors there, this is obviously kind of part of what you and some of the other pastors there do, and are responsible for, is when you think about service in your church and getting plugged in, getting your members encouraging your members to get plugged in church and to serve and to go to small groups or Bible studies, right? How does your church as a whole encourage and facilitate service and getting plugged in amongst the people that are attending there?
Yeah, we don't do it as well as we should. One of the good things about having a bunch of religious people is that they're religious about uh, their duties and their
Hmm.
service, and so is as long as you have good people
Hmm.
in those places, then you don't run into a problem. It's when you have the religious person that's also not a great theologian or not
Hmm.
a great character that won't give up that position.
Sure.
That's when it turns into a problem. But there's other people that you say, "Hey, we need you. God has
Hmm.
gifted you as many members with of the same body with Christ as the head and different
Yeah.
giftings and focuses and all these things. God is using us in this local expression.
Hmm.
And so you were vital. And so if and so we try to tell our new members, prospective members, but then our congregation as it comes up in the text, so that if our feet decide that they don't want to be feet anymore or they don't want to serve, then
Right.
that damages the whole body.
Right.
And so, just trying to
Right.
keep that because I think people either fall into I'm lazy and I'm not going to do anything. And if
Right.
that's where they fall, you're not going to change their mind. It doesn't
Right.
matter what you say. But
Yeah.
then you have some people that fall into the ignorance of, I didn't know how vital this was, or I didn't know that this is what something I was supposed to be doing.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but like just listening, because you are in the Bible Belt, right? And you said that one of the one of the things that helps is that people there are already so religious, right? So out here in the Pacific Northwest, in the Seattle area, I mean, it's like pulling teeth to get people to serve, right? So would you say, and again, correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but would you say that it's not so much finding the warm bodies to serve? It's for you, it's more making sure that the motives and the reasoning that they are serving is worked on.
Yeah, sure, because they'll come. Now, obviously, there's some
Yeah.
things that nobody will sign up for just because they don't,
Like children's ministry, dang it.
exactly, exactly. Always holes in the children's ministry.
There
But
are. Yeah.
but down here it's real easy. I could guilt any one of these people into doing something,
Yeah.
but that's not gonna I'm just, it's a gift.
It's a gift. It's that
That's
Southern Baptist charm.
right. I mean,
Oh, God bless
if
them.
if we need this and you come to my office or I call you into my office, by the end of it, you're gonna do it.
You're going to be doing something. Yeah.
But it's not helpful because they don't feel called, so they're
Mhm.
not being equipped, and
Yeah.
they're doing it begrudgingly,
Yeah.
which not only affects them, but also the people they're serving with or over or under. And so,
Right.
yeah, that's the thing. It's not so much the bodies as much as it is we need people to look inside, see how God has particularly gifted them,
Yeah.
and then to use that in his
Right.
service.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that goes right into the next question is, especially you as a pastor who is has as one of his functions identifying that in people, right? How what would you say someone, so you have a lot of people serving in church, right? There's always good reasons, good motivations for doing that, and bad reasons and bad motivations, right? So
Sure.
what would you say are, again, on both sides of the spectrum, what do you think are some good and bad motives?
Yeah, sure. Um, well, I think the good motivations are that they see the need, and even if they're ill-equipped for that particular task,
Mhm.
um, they see the need, and so they want to serve. The willingness to serve, that's a great thing. We just probably need to tweak and adjust where you serve because while your willingness is there, and I appreciate your willingness,
Mhm.
if you're not a teacher, then I don't need you to teach.
Sure.
Like that's not going to be it. Um, but I think that there's also bad motivations in that people want to be seen.
Mm.
They want to feel useful, but so that they'll feel better about themselves, not
Right.
useful so that God, is glorified, but useful so that people can look at them and see their sacrifice.
Mm,
Um, those are bad motivations, and really, to get to the core of people's motivations, you have to see what it is that they value,
right.
and the way that you find out what it is that they value is you lay up in front of them the most valuable thing, which is
Mhm.
Christ.
Yeah. Amen.
The best way to figure out what people value is to lay in front of them that which is most valuable and see how
Sure.
they respond.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I agree. Yeah, for sure. That's all. Yeah. Very, very good stuff. Um, and it's those people, TJ, that I have served with and that I've had the pleasure of both leading and being led by. Um, it's those people that hold Christ as most valuable and hold Christ as the in and all of who they are and why they do what they do. It's those people that are such an encouragement to me and really I mean and it's an overused word in our society for sure, but are truly an inspiration to me. And they and it's people like that that the Lord uses to instill in me a desire to want to follow Christ more, because I see the examples. Right, Paul held up Epaphroditus and I think it was Barnabas as people who are worthy of honor. Like, look at them as examples. God is using them in amazing ways. Right. So for you, TJ, whether it's people that are in your church now, people that you've read, people that you listen to, whatever the case, who are the Christians in your life that inspire you and cause you to want to follow Christ more fervently than you do now? And what are the traits that they possess that instill that in you?
Yeah. So I'll start here. April 2nd of this year, we lost my dad unexpectedly.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry, man.
yeah, and just got a. My mom actually called my in-laws, which we live close to my in-laws,
Mhm.
and they came over to the house and just kind of broke the news to us. She didn't think she could tell me on the phone. So of course we get in
Oh,
the car, head home, and deal with that, and are continuing to deal with that. But my dad, um, for from really the majority of his life, he
mhm,
died at 62. So for 50 plus years as a believer, he daily read the word. And so he read through the Bible probably 80 times. As a Christian, he had his plan where every 3 years he read through the Bible twice.
wow.
And and so um maybe a little less than that. I don't remember. Anyway, so but he showed me the importance of being in the Word of God and
Mhm,
made me set that up as an example for me to follow. But then getting to know people like Pat and Joe
mhm,
and
sure.
excuse me, and they all had different air around them,
Mhm,
and they all approach faith in different ways. And so
right.
I'm able to glean things from them, which is different than listening to, I love Matty Chan, right? I love
Sure.
Matt Chandler, love listening to Piper, to Tim Keller, to HB Charles Jr. I love these guys. Alistair Begg is probably one of my favorites right now.
Right.
Right now, I'm on a kick between Alistair Begg, HB Charles, and Thabiti Onawile. Like I just kind of
There you go.
those,
There you
those
go.
guys.
You just like the accents,
I do,
like,
man.
because you've got one,
I,
right?
I do, but my
Or
accent,
do I have one? Hold on. Which one?
I don't know. Most people think my accent makes me sound stupid, but man, I wish I had everything that I say would sound so much cooler if I was Scottish like Alistair
Oh,
Begg,
anything anybody says sounds cooler if it's in a Scottish accent. I don't care what you're saying.
right? Exactly.
You could be dumb as a bag of rocks, and if you're saying dumb things in a Scottish accent, I'm gonna think that you're a professor somewhere.
That's exactly right. If I thought that swallowing gravel would let me sing like Chris Stapleton or read like James Earl Jones,
There
I
you
I
go.
would do it in a minute.
We'd be out there eating rocks.
If I thought that would help, man, they just have that
Oh, man.
voice, but, those guys, what they bring is different because they bring clarity to the word of God, but
Mm.
I don't know them.
No, they're not calling to see how you're doing.
Yeah,
Like they're not calling to see like where your blind spots are and
yeah.
encouraging you and convicting you, right?
Sure. So those other guys, have ministered to me and with me, through different parts of my life. My senior pastor
Mm,
now, Billy, who shows me, because I'm more prophetic in my leadership, that I'm more the communicator of truth. He's
mm,
more pastoral, uh,
okay.
and so he's showing me what it looks like to be more of a shepherd
Mm,
than to
sure.
just be the expositor. And, yeah, those are just some guys, that really have come alongside of me and poured time into me to, like you said, show blind spots or to encourage or, uh, to go in the same direction with.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that is so encouraging to have those friends that are with you and are helping you through those times. One of the greatest memories that I have of and one of the greatest joys that I have is going through different experiences with friends, the life experiences, like whether good or bad, right? Um, and I know you being a pastor, especially growing up in the church too, in the Bible Belt, I guarantee you have those unforgettable church moments and those funny experiences. So TJ, I want you to give us one of the most funniest or unforgettable church moments or church experiences you have ever had.
Um, okay, so when I was, at my home church,
Yeah.
I was excuse me, I was interning with the youth,
Okay.
and we have a game that we like to play called Communist Church. It's a tag in the dark. And so, yeah, so basically what happens is you have a couple of Christians, who you have a couple of Christians and a couple of communists. You set the Christians and the communists loose and see what happens. And so, my home church is quite large. I knew all the direct routes being an intern and,
Yeah.
having gone there my whole life. I knew how to get where I needed to get,
Hmm.
through different means. And my brother and I, played. We played. My brother's 3 years younger than me. And so, then they wanted us to be the communist.
Okay.
And so, because they thought that they could, beat us.
Sure.
And we were like, "You can't," but okay. And so we set them loose, and basically for the next 30, 45 minutes, we, ran around the church chasing these teenagers,
Okay.
and, because we're smarter than them, we're like raptors, and that
Sure.
we would
There's always one on the left,
right,
right?
we would flank the children. And so my brother's faster than me, he's taller than me,
Uh,
right? And so, I chased the children thinking, and they were like, "Ha ha, he's fat and slow, he's not gonna catch us."
right.
But what they didn't know is I was leading them to my brother,
Uh,
and we
who
didn't even
brought down the iron sickle?
right. And so, yeah, there was times where this one kid who was one of our, senior boys who,
Hmm.
just thought he was all that,
Oh
um,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he
Needed to be
was
knocked down a couple notches,
yeah,
right?
literally, because he was running down the hallway, I was chasing him, he laughed and said, "You're never gonna catch me," and he rounded the corner, and my brother jacked him up against the wall, and so he got out, but then somebody set him
Clever girl.
exactly. So somebody set him free, and he got through, and he took the door, and he slammed the door behind him. It was one of those metal doors with the bar across the center,
Oh yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
and so, we tagged him, and, we got in trouble because, the door folded. The top part of the door folded.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so the next morning at church, we had to let the pastor know, the youth pastor and us had to let the
Uh,
pastor know that we, caved in a door.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But what did you expect in a lock-in,
I,
youth pastor? Like, honestly, come on. Let's be honest.
especially when you set them loose in the whole building. I
Right.
mean,
It's a bunch of communists. What are you going to expect is going to happen to the private property?
I know. Yeah, so crazy
Uh,
things like that, man.
well, TJ, we're coming to the end of the podcast here, man, but not quite yet because it is now time for the Monday hot takes.
Okay,
And this is when I ask you a whole bunch of random questions and you give me the first thing that pops into your head. You ready for these?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. All right, we're going to start off a little easy. I know you said you're an eclectic guy in this area, but we're going to see if we can narrow it down. Favorite band or / musical artist?
The Beatles.
Would not have pegged you for a Beatles fan. Okay, you are. That's okay.
Oh, I like a whole
All right.
bunch. Yeah,
Let's see, coffee or tea?
tea, sweet tea.
Sweet tea. Okay. All right. Yeah. That.
From the South, man. From the South. If you're talking like herbal tea, then it's coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the tea out here in the Pacific Northwest. I hear tea and I'm thinking black tea with, a little bit of sugar. No, sweet tea.
No. If you're taking that tea, then coffee. Yeah.
There you go. Fair enough. Okay. All right, TJ. What is one thing about current Christian culture that's annoying to you?
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes. Just, okay.
They're snowflakes outside of the church, but also just snowflakes inside the church.
Sure. I hear you. Okay. Let's see. If you could close one fast food chain, which one would it be?
Arby's.
Really? You're gonna close Arby's?
Well, I had a bad experience.
Okay. That's fine.
We'll
leave that.
Ate Arby's right before they closed one day. It did not go well.
We'll leave that on the floor. No pun intended.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right, TJ. If you could disinvent one thing, what would it be?
The internet.
All right. What's the worst book you've ever read? I'll preface it. You didn't need to finish the book.
Living Your Best Life Now. I just
the Olstein book.
Yeah, I just could not.
Yeah. If this is my best life now, then I ain't looking forward to anything else.
No, I'm not.
Okay. What is the craziest or most out of character thing you've ever done?
I sang God Bless the Broken Road to a bride-to-be on her bachelorette weekend while on a mission trip.
What?
We were on a mission trip to Canada. We stopped in Maine to drive over into Canada, and we were at a crab shack, basically, and this group of ladies were there on a bachelorette weekend, and they had like a scavenger hunt for the bride to do, and one of the things that she had to do was to get somebody to sing a love song to her.
Okay.
And she asked our senior pastor, who declined. So I went over there in front of the entire bar restaurant and sang "God Bless the Broken Road" to this somebody else's woman.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I got nothing to follow that up with. That's a good. That's a good story. That's good. Let's see. What is one trend that you would like to see come back that has died out? Wallet chains.
Oh, gosh. Boom boxes.
Oh yeah, holding it on the shoulder, like the big rectangle ones.
Big rectangle, silver rectangles.
Baby. Yeah. Yes, with the cassette tapes, right? Playing crisscross.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. I completely agree. Okay, least favorite food.
Salad. I do not eat the food that my food eats.
I love how practical that explanation is. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, so hey, you'll be proud of me. I got Pat to answer this question.
Okay.
What is if you could pick one superpower, what would it be?
Man. Oh, okay. I have two. One's ministry related.
Oh, okay.
And one's not.
Okay.
The one that's not ministry related is super speed, which the Flash is my dude, so
yes.
I'm here for it, and all of that entails. The one that would be ministry related would be the ability to understand to read and to write in any language that I wanted to.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah, that one would be nice. Yeah, Pat said telepathy, and I called him creepy. Because it's either that or the guy that chooses invisibility.
Yeah,
It's like, you're a perv.
Yeah, no, can't do that one. Pick another one.
We ain't saying that one. Okay, favorite movie?
Tombstone.
All right, that's the Will You Be My Huckleberry, right?
Yep.
All right. What is your go-to karaoke song? God Bless the Broken Road.
It would
I
either
just
be,
sing it to random women now.
yeah, no. I'm old.
I
enough, so
got the karaoke track playing on a boombox, and I just walked down the street.
Now all these inhibitions have popped up.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We gotta talk about
Let's see.
that.
Go-to karaoke song would either be Gangster's Paradise
Yes.
or Ice Ice Baby.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. I love it. There's nothing more I want to see and hear than a guy with your southern drawl singing Gangster's Paradise.
Yeah, so we have a daycare at the church, and the directors are working on bringing in packets, parent packets, and they're going through them and whatever. And Gangster's Paradise came on while they were doing it, and I just happened to walk past and just started exactly where it was and just kept rapping as I walked past them.
Money and the power, hour after hour.
Exactly right. That's what it is, man.
Oh, I love it. That's so awesome. Well, TJ, we've come to the end, man. It has been so much fun having you on the podcast. Yep. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being on with me today.
Absolutely, man. Good time.
All right. Well, hey, everyone, you can head on over to iTunes and leave a raving review and a 5-star rating if you don't mind. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Music, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcast, we are there. Head on over to facebook.com/everydayamonday podcast, Instagram @everydayamonday_pod. And thank you all for joining us in the trenches today. And we will catch you on the next step of Every Day a Monday.